Do you want to improve your brain health? Well, I have the perfect vegetable for you. Cauliflower. Welcome to Whole and Healthy Cooking with Chef Val. Hi, I'm Chef Valerie Wilson. I've been teaching healthy, whole foods cooking classes since 1997. I'm the author of 5 cookbooks, and you can get all the information about everything I have to offer on my website, macroval.com. So, cauliflower. Well, first and foremost, it looks like your brain. In Oriental medicine, they teach us that when certain foods look like certain organs in your body, they feed and nurture those organs. And it's actually been shown that cauliflower helps with brain development. Exceptionally high in vitamin C. So if you want your vitamin C, cauliflower is your vegetable. Also high in vitamin E, which is a natural antioxidant, and contains vitamin K, which is really good for your bones, has anti-inflammatory properties, and that's always great in a vegetable because we want to fight off inflammation. But let's say you go to the grocery store and you're going to buy a head of cauliflower. What should you look for? Well, first and foremost, you want a nice size one. I don't go with the really small ones because then you don't get much vegetable for your buck, right? So you get a nice size one. Now look on the cauliflower. If there's black bits on the cauliflower, well, that means that it's getting old. Now, if there's only a few black bits, you can actually cut them off. But if you start to see a lot of them, please get rid of them. And here's something that you want to look for too. So you always want to buy organic produce, right? Because we don't want chemicals sprayed on it. But sometimes when you get organic cauliflower and it's been sitting in the store for a while, it gets these really, really small white bugs on it. And they're virtually impossible to wash off the cauliflower if they're in there because they're so small. So when you're at the store, you can just pick the cauliflower up and you can look to see if those little black bugs are there. I recommend if you see them, don't buy that head of cauliflower. But you get the cauliflower home and then you wash it. It's pretty easy to wash. You just put it under the sink and let water run all over it and it's clean. And then the first thing you're going to want to do is to cut off the green part here on the bottom. Now, it kind of looks and feels and smells like cabbage because cauliflower is in the cruciferous vegetable category, which means it's in the cabbage family. So we just cut off the green part here, right, and get rid of that. Compost it if you got a composter. Now, vegetables that are in the cabbage family have been studied and shown that they have anti-cancer properties. All right, so here we got all the green part out. Now, we have a relatively large vegetable. So, of course, the first thing that would be, easy for us to do, cut it in half so it's smaller, so it's more manageable. So we're going to cut it in half like so. Okay. I usually take, this half and just set it over there, get it out of the way so I can work with this half. Now, these little bits that fall on the cutting board, save those. Those are great. You can eat those. Those are wonderful. So now that we have it cut in half, we want to cut it in half again. All right. So we have 1/4 of a head of cauliflower. Now, we've had this butt. See the butt in the cauliflower? That's very easy to take out of the cauliflower. Take your knife at an angle and just cut the core out. So some people use the core, and you can use the core, make a soup stock. You could also slice it thin and pickle it, and then you've got pickled cauliflower core. But for today, we're just going to compost it. Now, when you start chopping the cauliflower and you start cutting it on the cutting board, you get those little white heads all over the place. It makes a huge mess. I'm always trying to figure out how to be in the kitchen and make the least amount of mess as you can. So let's say you're going to steam this. You can put this whole thing in the steamer pot. You don't need to cut it anymore. You can steam it whole, just like that. Perfectly fine. If you're going to put it in a soup, then you're probably going to want to cut it up in smaller pieces. And you can achieve that just by cutting it like so. Now, once cauliflower cooks and gets soft, a lot of times in the soup, the little heads will kind of fall apart for you, so that's nice. Cauliflower also works really well in stews. So put it with sweet potato or winter squash or carrots. It makes a wonderful stew. Now, my favorite way to have the cauliflower is my millet mashed potatoes, where you cook it with millet. So make sure you watch that video to get the recipe for millet mashed potatoes. And then, you can just put the cauliflower on a plate, get rid of it. Now remember, all these white bits on the cutting board, you want to make sure that you use those. Cauliflower is also really high in fiber, and it's great for your digestion. However, do not eat cauliflower raw. So again, being that it's in the cabbage family, vegetables that are in the cabbage family have a high sulfur content, and they tend to be hard to digest. So just by lightly steaming the cauliflower, it makes it more digestible. And then you're going to be able to utilize all the vitamins and minerals that are in it, more so than if you try and eat it raw. So next time you're at the store, pick up some cauliflower for sure, bring it home, chop it up, put it in your soup, make a stew, or just steam it. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, your journey to eating healthy begins with one small step. Let's make that small step eating cauliflower.